All right, we're going to open up our July 10th formal at 10:01 a.m. Bailey, do you want to lead us in the flag salute? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that. If anybody has any public comments, raise your hand. If you're online, raise your virtual hand. Seeing none. C, calendar session. Do we have any changes?
I think I don't have the dog park Saturdays. That's
Positively Electric Saturday
Yeah, I'm sure
from 10 to 2.
we may cross.
Still looking for volunteers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get that added. I can send it to you if you need it.
Did you want to talk about the two formal dates for August and September?
Yeah. So, excuse me, August 14th and September 4th, no BOC. September 4th. Is everybody okay with that?
I'll have to check my calendar.
To take it off? Okay, cool. All right, moving on. Department updates, there's none. F is work session, there's none. G is consent agenda, and it's a long one. Did everybody get a chance to look it over?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would move approval. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I is other business. I1 is consideration of approval of amendment number 11 to agreement number 026028 between Yamhill County Health and Human Services and the Oregon Health Authority, Board Order 24-29, for additional funding in the amount of $19,910, retroactive, effective to July 1st, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Commissioner?
Oh, aye. Sorry.
Yep, no worries. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I2 is consideration approval of agreement between Yamhill County and George Fox University for the Early Learning Child Care Center in the amount of $102,453.46. This is effective upon full execution through December 31st, 2026. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
Very excited about this.
No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I3 is consideration of approval of an intent to award to Specialized Pavement Marking LLC in the amount of $366,886.50 for the 2025 Highway Striping Services Project. I would move approval. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I4 is consideration of authorization to submit an application for the 2025-2027 Oregon Youth Authority Juvenile Crime Prevention Basic and Diversion Service State Grant.
Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
None.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item I5 is consideration of approval of an agreement between Yamhill County and the Blue Spruce Builders, Inc. for the Johnston Creek House restroom remodel in the amount of $151,000 effective upon full execution, no relation.
Chair, before I make a motion to approve, this is a house that was purchased years ago And it really needed a lot of work. And the bathrooms need a lot of work at this point, that the house has been shut down. So we've got women who are waiting to get in there with their kids and they can't. The bathrooms are in desperate need of remodeling. So I would move approval, and I have some comments after, during announcements about what goes on in this house. but
Okay,
approval.
is this more than a restroom?
Yes,
This seems very steep.
yes.
Okay.
There are two, and they're going to be making one big one out of a really small one. Remember, this is family, basically
A
mothers
house.
with children.
Okay.
And the bathrooms are very small.
And we probably have to go ADA and a bunch of other, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I get an aye out of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item I6, consideration of approval to establish a Geographic Information Systems GIS coordinator position for the Yamhill County Office of Assessment and Taxation.
don't see
And
Derek.
if we have questions, is Derek online? Well, I guess we'll get to that. Is there any, I would move approval of this. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, if I can, just to clarify, because really what this action is doing is not necessarily just approving a position. This is a budgetary change. This is modifying the FTEs within the assessor's office to grant position authority for this position in the budget.
And he has budget authority in his budget for this, correct?
He has the funds, he doesn't
The
have
funds.
the position authority.
Got it.
So
Okay.
this is an adjustment to his FTEs.
So it's budget neutral. I mean, in terms of, he's not asking us for any additional.
There's savings from a vacant or a retired position, I think,
Correct.
that he's going to use to pay for partials of this. So,
That's correct.
good. Did I make a motion?
You did.
Okay. Any further discussion? None.
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to I7, consideration of the appointment of Deputy County Administrator Kevin Perkins to the Affordable Housing Corporation Board to replace County Administrator and serve as the Yamhill County Representative.
Chair, I've been on as the liaison to Affordable Housing Corporation. It's a sort of a subset of the Housing Authority, and our administrator has been on this. So this will basically free up our administrator and add something to our deputy administrator to be part of this meeting that we have quarterly.
Fantastic. All right. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Let's see here. And that wraps up other business. We're on to public hearings. There is none, which leads us to K, announcements. Commissioner King, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Wrapped up the 4th of July weekend, St. Paul Rodeo, all that fun stuff. And also didn't get to make it to the parade in Willamina, but I did a couple hours down there at their 4th of July celebration. Restaurant that was here in McMinnville reopened in Carlton. I got to stop by there. Their James Beard celebrated restaurant, which is pretty cool to have locally here. Newburgh City Council, they initiated their first usage of urban renewal for River Street. And if you've been on that, that's fantastic. That street has been awful for years. Water treatment plant, funding approval for that was, they had about $500,000 from Representative Salinas's CIP projects, but that is going to take too long. So they're going to figure out how to pay for that themselves. They also are de-annexation, 3 small parcels to go back into county and kind of do a land swap. So I'm sure we'll be seeing something from that. They had a STR policy as well. If you've been following Newburgh, this has been a long time coming for them. Put a 2% cap on within city limits, but they did not do a density cap. So, which was they also talked about for a long time. I met with Transit. Cynthia kind of just starting the conversation of a plan B if some funding cuts start to happen from the federal government or the state without a transportation plan in place. Three of us got to take that tour in Newburgh yesterday of the motor control economic development grant. It was really cool to see those guys running their own business and just the amount of detail that they put into their work. I met with the sheriff yesterday, and one of the things we talked about is something that I think is going to come down our pipeline here is just Sheridan, the ambulance services that they have, and with the stabbings and so on this week that they experienced, it really just highlights that need for such a huge area that ambulance service covers. So just the need for more coverage. We didn't come up with any solutions yet, but definitely starting the wheels turning there. I met with some community stakeholders around the Medicaid coverage that we're having and the cuts that are going to happen in the next few years. And one of our major providers here in Yamhill County and regionally will see a $500 million annual decrease in Medicaid funding. And I immediately just start to think about what that means for our local coverage here in HHS. And just what that implications are just over the next few years that we'll have there. So tonight, I think this is the youth thing in Lafayette. I won't be able to make that. I have a celebration happening at Chemeketa that I have to attend to. So if Mayor Hillary is listening, my apologies. I won't be able to make it. That's it for me.
All right. Little bit of the same stuff here. So wrapped up the July 4th parade. Willamina parade that evening. Also coming up next on the 19th is going to be the Yamhill Derby Days parade. Monday was AOC Ledge Committee. Basically is a one legislative committee wrap up of how all the Senate bills, House bills ended up hammering out in the end. It was a long meeting and they filled every last second of it. So a lot of important stuff coming down. 3518, which affects our tax and assessment. That did not pass, but I guess if there's any glimmer of hope on it, it sounds like they're willing to pick it up for 2026. So at least all the information is there and they can hit the ground running for next year to start advocating for that again. Wildfire maps, thank goodness, have officially been repealed. This has been a disaster ever since I was on the Planning Commission. And it affected us implementing our ADUs for almost, I want to say like 4,000 tax lots in our rural residential areas in the county that we couldn't implement our ADU policies on. I think it delayed that for 2 years. And then not to mention the just disaster mess that it made just by mentioning the reconsideration of, I mean, you had farms in Eastern Oregon that had irrigated pivot fields that were in a high risk area. And it just made no sense. And people were getting their insurance canceled left and right. And it was a mess. Anyway, that's finally all repealed. And they left it up to the counties to implement whatever they would like to do. So that's nice. 40 million allocated for the deflection program. Previously, the county's got 90% of the funding, and now it's going to be capped at 25%. And you will have to now, the rest of your allocation will be based on how many go through the program. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. 3031 allocated 11.2 million towards site development for counties, cities, and tribes. We are all eligible to apply for that. 2154. We as a county now, I think this was a temporary bill, and now it is now law that we can designate up to 2 areas in the county that are county roads as safety corridors, and now we can double traffic fines or implement different things for those areas. And I think the one interesting part with this. If we do designate, and then you can start filing for grants with the state to improve intersections. So this is definitely something in the future I want to look at and see if maybe our McDougal Road, our smaller projects at each end of that might fit into this, or our Stoller Creeder intersection might fit into that. So definitely want to keep tabs on that. 3175. We can charge as a county now up to $10, $10 fee, filing fee to go towards Corner Preservation Fund. House Bill 2025 obviously failed. And the other bill partially related to that was funding for ODOT, which was 3402. That also failed. And now there's been 483 pink slips handed out to ODOT as of Monday. That was the update. And 449 of those, not of those, but an additional 449 are empty positions being cut at ODOT. I don't know if there's been an update on that since Monday. There's no Dayton City Council meeting Monday night. Newburgh, that was interesting. Almost $911,000 to cap a reservoir. If they don't cap that reservoir, they would have to go into a permanent boil water notice, and their fine would be over $1,000 a day. Tuesday was Willamina. They had, not funny that one of the counselors resigned, so there's now an empty spot. So if anybody out there in that Willamina city limits is interested in that, make sure that you get a hold of Crystal or Bridget out there and apply for that. The funny part of it is, while the city council meeting was going, they were looking for, so Deputy Scar ended up moving to state police, and he ran the dunk tank, or was in the dunk tank last year, and they're like, Commissioner Johnston. And I'm like,
Yeah, you
okay,
go.
my schedule is free, so I'm going to be in the dunk tank August 5th, 6 p.m. Yeah, if you have any aggressions or whatever you need to take out, that's where I'll be. I'll be in a cage, so I can't go anywhere. That's the Willamina Night Out, August 5th, 6 to 8. McMinnville, so left Willamina is a fairly short meeting, left there like 7:15, got to McMinnville City Council about 7:40. They were, got there in time to listen to them discuss and adopt the timeline to hire an interim city manager. Right now, the temporary interim is Vicky Hedges. And then they'll find the interim that then will buy them some time to basically headhunt for permanent city manager position there. And Jeff's last day is July 16th. Wednesday morning was Soil and Water, very long discussion about the new land and conservation trust that they set up. If that's something you guys are interested in, reach out to me later. There's a whole lot of details that go into this, or reach out to, if you know a Soil and Water board member, reach out to them. They'd be happy to discuss it with you. We did go on the motor control tour. And I know I said this last time, the last tour we went on with Pure Light Botanical, but the connection that Joya makes with these businesses is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this kid is hugging her when we're all done. That's the personal touch that Joya has done. I have never been more happy of our department and the hands-on personal touch that you've given for economic development. That's much appreciated. Yamhill City Council meeting, they appointed a new planning commission member. There's still one open seat. So if anybody's out in Yamhill, there's still an open seat on the planning commission. They meet the third Monday every month at 6:30 p.m. Tonight's Lafayette and the Youth Safety Town Hall. The Youth Safety Town Hall is at 6. I think the Lafayette City Council is going to happen right after that at 6:30. So I'm not quite sure what the mayor's plans are there. Maybe the sheriff knows. Are you going to be at that? Okay. To 7. Okay, cool. So that was the sheriff speaking to me. If you didn't hear that on recording, it sounds like council will be moved to 7 p.m. and the youth outreach will be at 6 p.m. at the fire station, right? Yep. Okay. Planning Commission tonight, 7 p.m. Matt Greeters tomorrow at the Preserve Golf Course, which used to be the Bayou Golf Course. Our fair ambassadors will be there, and I will be there to introduce them. So come on down for that. And while we're on Fair Ambassadors, don't forget the rodeo's coming up July 30th. You're going to start seeing the advertising signs, the red barns go out around the county. We had to change the dates on them, so they look a little funky, but I think you'll get the picture. And a huge thank you to all those families that allow us to put those signs on their farms or their businesses to let us advertise the fair and rodeo. And then tomorrow we have Blanchette tour.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
That's
Commissioner Sterrett.
all you got? Okay, and you were picking up garbage this morning because we saw you from the window.
Yeah.
Okay. The legislative wrap-up at AOC on Friday was, as Chair Johnston mentioned, pretty exhaustive. And you did mention some of the things that were the highlights. And that has to do with the, the housing infrastructure that counties are now, House Bill 3031. We are now eligible for that. But also want to bring up the EMPG grant, and through Oregon Emergency Management, there's almost a $9 million request from the state. The federal grant was not released. It normally is in March. We met with the congressional delegation and talked to them about that. Sergeant Young and I did. And we're hoping that there is money in the e-board for that, and hopefully it will cover some of that match. Talked about the deflection funding, which is now going to be per person, more of an incentive for seeing folks actually get through that. We're anticipating a special session for transportation funding. And again, thank you for pointing out that the ODOT layoffs were in large part vacant positions, and also that the higher paid positions were not impacted, which I think is very telling. The wildfire map, we talked about that, the classification process. One of the things we talked about in terms of the public safety portfolio is they did not fund community corrections, and the outlook for corrections going forward. The priorities, a lot of the funding for behavioral health, we talked a little bit about that, and only the 85% of the cost of the DD management cases, that's been held flat. So that's going to be, and public health has been held flat. So that's going to be interesting. Did repeal the burn hotline because it was duplicating services. You can call 988 and get those services addressed. Wanted to talk about the Johnston Creek house remodel. I was there on Tuesday and met with Mickey Bernards, who's the lead there, and her team. And that is a house that we purchased, and it has been a wonderful opportunity for women to get their kids back to live in a supported recovery treatment facility. But it does need a little TLC. There are 2 moms right now who have 14-day-old babies. And again, these are the types of places where we wish we could put them, but we can't put them there. But I do want to say that we were able to connect with our family well-being coordinator, who gets some playpens and some equipment over to them. So that connection is really great. I love it when that happens. And you were mentioning Joya. She was able to actually connect Mickey and one of her clients who's about to graduate from TTRS with Pure Light, and she's got an interview set up, and she says she's going to be perfect because she loves makeup. So we're excited about that, and also excited about the fact, thank you for hooking up the there's the new HR folks at Empower in McMinnville, because they are always looking for folks who will hire people coming out of our recovery courts and our TTRS. So thank you for doing that. We have LGAC on Friday, which is basically we're looking at HHS funding and things like that with the state. And I just got a bunch of bills, but you already mentioned some of them. So Senate Bill 248 unfortunately did pass. We have a supermajority in the Oregon legislature that has just year after year, session after session, chipped away at gun rights. And so people who have CHLs are basically going to find out, unfortunately, that their CHLs are becoming less and less meaningful. So unfortunately, we're seeing more of an assault on the law-abiding people, and the criminals don't seem to get as much attention. So that's my wrap up.
All right. Ken, you got anything else? Okay, are we still on schedule for finance moving? Okay, next week. Cool. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to close it out at 10:25.